Hi guys, today we are reading, what is a psychological hack you do to people on a regular basis? Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. Never tell people, I need a favor. Instead, say I need your help. Use silence to your advantage. People are uncomfortable with silence. During any kind of negotiation or contentious discussion, the first person to speak is the one that's likely to cave in. If you're negotiating salary, react silently to the initial offer. Act as if you're pondering it. Don't just sit there blank-faced, but don't say anything. Odds are, the other person will interject and improve the offer. The same applies for negotiating the price of a car or a house, negotiating a contract, etc. My kid's not old enough to try it, but I hear this works fantastically on kids as well. If they want something, tell them to convince you, then sit silently when they're done. They'll respond by improving their offer, and you'll get to see just how much it means to them. When doing a presentation for the boss to present, or for me to present representing the department, the boss will always want to review it. I learned it was better to leave one or two misspelled words or a phrase that could be said better. This gives him the chance to feel like he had real input. Before I started doing this, he would have me rewrite entire sections. I don't do this much anymore, but whenever I wanted to buy something expensive, I would over-exaggerate the price to my parents so that when I told them the actual price, it would seem more reasonable. Me, Mum, can I get this video game? It's $90, Mum. That's a little too much, me. Wait, never mind, it's actually $60. A simple little psychological trick I've found for co-workers is to ask them to keep others in line when it's their own problems that I really want fixed. For example, when I worked at a restaurant and one server in particular made no attempt to organize dishes she bussed for the dishwashers, I politely asked her to do me a favor and make sure everyone else is keeping the carts organized. Problem solved. They don't feel accused. They started doing their job right, and as an added perk they even passed the skill on to new hires. De-escalation. When someone raises their voice, you lower yours. When someone gets angry, you get calm. 99% of people will meet you in the middle. Confirm their biases. Validate them. You're right. That is upsetting. I hear where you're coming from. Don't tell them they are wrong. Just give them the validation they want, and they will eventually get to a more rational state, but not immediately. Don't ask someone why. Instead of why are you mad, or why did you do that, ask how and what. What made you angry? How can I help? What does doing? Insert irrational behavior. Get UX. It will give them pause to think about their actions. Look past oncoming pedestrians when walking through crowds. If it appears you don't notice them, people are more likely to move out of your way. I did this for soccer and I'm sure it could work for other sports. Whenever I wanted my coach to sub me in the game, I would sit up off from the bench and nonchalantly walk right in front of him to grab water, and 9 out of 10 times he would tell me to go in the game. It's like a small reminder that I could be put in the game. Just make sure your presence is known by someone that you want something from. People can't handle more than about 6 choices at a time. So when you ask your friends where do you want to eat, you are giving them the choice of anywhere, which is too many choices. Hack. Suggest 3 places at a time, and you'll get them to pick a place much faster. Staring into someone's eyes while talking to them, and handing them random shit without them noticing. By the end of it, you can probably make them carry anything. Try it out, it's pretty cool. I think this should qualify as a psychological hack. Whenever I would fight with my brothers, and it would accidentally go too far and one of them would end up hurt, I would pretend that I also got hurt in the act so they didn't feel the need to even the score. It worked a lot. When I think I'm about to enter the stranger dance, you and a stranger trying to walk past each other and you both end up stepping aside in the same direction. We all know that feeling. I look in the direction I want to pass them on and lean my head just ever so much in that direction. I usually pick the right side as that is the driving side of the road here and it correlates well with people. If that fails and I do the stranger dance, I stop moving, tell them they dance beautifully, and motion them to one side or the other. If people do a small task for you, they feel like you are more worth treating you decently. I work in retail and I found that this is very true. What I do is I always have a pen sitting a good 2 arms lengths away from me and I say to most of my customers if they would please hand me the pen. I then say, you are very sweet. Thank you. They get a little smile on their face and don't treat me like shit, smiley face. When I was a kid, I told a bunch of obvious, meaningless lies. Stupid shit like, no, I didn't leave the Rice Krispies out when I was clearly the only one in the house. As I grew into my teenage years, I was able to lie about the real shit to save my ass, because years before, my parents had become convinced that I was a terrible liar. Whenever I'm feeling insecure, I try to remember to open my body language up, exposing my underbelly to any predators that might want to eat me. Now, of course, there aren't any literal predators there, but since my body senses that I'm in a position of safety and power, it assumes that, I must be safe and in charge. Other people see this and, on a subconscious level, they too assume I must be on some position of power, and begin to defer automatically. Poof. Instant confidence, without needing truck nuts or steroids. People always like to talk about themselves. It makes for easy conversation from your end. When someone is talking to you and you want the person to understand, you are listening without having to participate too much. Nod and or emit a sound like hum or ha ha or I see while making a slight eye contact each time there is a pause or a point is made. In some cases you can also repeat the key point of your interlocutor. It will give the person more confidence and breathing room to express their thoughts. Also, if you want more information about what the person was telling you, use their own words to phrase your question. Not only does it emphasize on the fact that you listened carefully, but sharing the same speech pattern as your interlocutor will make them relate to you more easily. Works extra great with girls. These are my #1 tips to someone with Asperger's who has had a hard time learning how to communicate, mainly through trial and error, and it also allows me to speak less to avoid making mistakes. When I want something from someone that they wouldn't typically give up, I tell them how smart, talented, amazing they are. If there's the right type of environment, I promote an us against them mentality so that there's the feeling of an established bond. Trust. When you flatter someone's ego, they make exceptions for you, every time. When they feel like you understand them and nobody else does, it helps even more. My boss has literally flat out told me that he's grooming me for a better position, has put me on a board, and has already put me on a hiring committee over several senior co-workers that specifically asked for the hiring position. I am on probation here, because I'm so new. I'm not saying this guy isn't actually cool. He is actually a great guy, and there is a very grumpy group he oversees, but I absolutely encourage him and foster the I'm on your team attitude as much as I can. You have to be subtle, though. When someone shakes your hand too firm, pull them close to your body to counter their reach for dominance. Demonstrate value, engage physically, nurture dependence, neglect emotionally, inspire hope, separate entirely. Not me, but my friend has a hack he uses with customer service reps. If they say they can't or won't do something, he just says, "I believe in you," and it seems to work. At a restaurant once he ordered a Coke and they told him they only had Pepsi, and he looked the guy in the eyes and said, "I believe in you," and he went and bought a Coke from the restaurant next door. My friend is a dong. I like to gently nod my head while talking to them if I want them to agree, or I gently shake my head for things I want them to disagree with. Dealing with children, give them options you can work with, not just choices that led to the same outcome. Example, dinner. I have chicken taken out for dinner. How would you like to have it tonight? Fried or baked? Or would you like grilled or baked? Potatoes or rice? Carrots or spinach? These choices are pre-planned by you, but the child is given a stake in the final outcome, or so they feel. Potential outcomes: rise in self-worth, less fussing when eating, they chose it after all, and the opportunity to planning healthy food choices lifelong given your guidance. Whenever you're with a group of friends, you can tell who likes who by seeing who they look at when everyone is laughing. They usually look at this person because they want to see if they are laughing and they should also be laughing. I'll sometimes start off by over-exaggerating bad news. I'll start off like, "Someone has died, babe. I've got some bad news that you need to hear. At this time, the worst things are rushing through house of a mind you're taking to." Then I say, "I completely forgot to do that thing you wanted me to do." They sigh a sigh of relief and I'm off the hook. Someone taught me this simple trick for getting the truth out of people, and it has worked extremely well for me ever since. When you ask someone a question and you want the honest answer, you should look them straight in the eye, display proper body language and face them head on. Do not blink or tilt your head sideways when you ask the question. Especially helpful when you need to assert dominance, and give the 3-second look. Count to 3 in your head while maintaining eye contact, before responding to their answer. Trust me, if you master this technique, people will stop lying to you. Give it a go and see for yourself. For me, I find it's easy to make anyone agree with you with a couple very simple tricks. No matter what they're saying, nod agreeingly, as if what they're saying is reaffirming the point you just made or the point you're about to make. When they're done making their point, say you agree completely. Throw out whatever you're going to follow up and say. Repeatedly insert phrases that make it seem as if you're building on what they're saying, even if what you're saying is completely unrelated and to your point, and you're exactly right, etc. Frame the ultimate conclusion as their idea. So yes, I definitely agree with what you're saying. We need to, whatever you wanted them to agree to do anyway, thank them. What I find is this creates pressure to agree with you in 3 ways. There's pressure to go with the flow. You're creating the impression that the flow is stronger than it really by implying you're both going the same direction. You're creating responsibility on their part for the ultimate conclusion, even if they wouldn't have initially agreed. Those last couple steps put a little ownership on them, which creates pressure for them to defend the idea. Perhaps most powerfully, it simultaneously appeals to their ego and their insecurity. You're giving them credit, and they like that, so they're coming out ahead. They also don't understand how your point builds on theirs, which they assume is, because they're not smart enough to understand. If they were to disagree, not only do they lose the credit that has been bestowed on them, but they risk looking like a fool for not understanding how you were agreeing with them in the first place. When my younger brother wants to go on my iPad for an hour, I give him the choice to go on for 30 or 45 minutes. He chooses to go on for 45 minutes, because he believes it's the best pick when really he could have gotten an hour of game time. Please subscribe if you like the video. It really helps the channel to grow. Adios.